Hello and welcome. I'm your host, Nikki.
I'm your host, Tony.
And you've got it tapped to the Mana Sink, a podcast and YouTube channel where we talk about Commander and the cards you might want to sink your mana into. Our first episode.
Yeah, first.
Pumped.
Hopefully many more to come.
I hope so. And a little bit before we get started, you can follow us on social media at themanasinkpod. You can also support us directly on Patreon at patreon.com/themanasink. And that's going to help us do this show a lot better than we are right now, I hope. So
Yeah.
And just a little bit about the Patreon before we get into these first cards in our first episode. We'd like to hear a little more from you guys just on that tier system. What are some ideas you guys might have to make that appeal more to the donators, you yourselves? We have one up. That's all just kind of tentative. If you like it, tell us you like it. If there's something we missed or you want to see on a tier somewhere, let us know and we'll go through all of those suggestions and we'll see what we can make happen. So I think that's going to do it for any updates. Oh, art.
Yeah, art. We borrow the art you see for each episode. And we would like to host a contest for people to submit their art and for us to use on the show.
As our main art for the show. So you guys can submit that. There will be a link in the description below for all of you artists out there that might be watching this.
Mm-hmm.
You can submit that and we'll take a handful that we like and then we'll throw those up on our social media, and anybody who follows us there, they'll be able to vote for that art, and whoever gets the most picks, that'll be the art that we use. And we will give you credit not only when the credits roll at the end here, but also in any descriptions and whatnot. So, hopefully we can get
your art
your name out there, and hopefully people will get a hold of you and maybe have you do some art for them. Or whatever. It's just fun. It's just fun, and we will give you plenty of credit. So that, I think, we'll do for our little intro when we can get into this topic of cards. What's our first card today, Tony?
Well, our first card today is Grafted Exoskeleton. It costs 4 generic. It is an artifact equipment card, and it equips for 2. And its ability says equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has infect.
Ugh.
You okay there?
It just makes me shiver.
Oh. And
unless I'm swinging it.
And whenever Grafted Exoskeleton becomes unattached, sacrifice the creature that it was attached to.
The permanent.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, Tony, this was your pick. So why don't you go through how you're going to best use Grafted Exoskeleton for us? What's the first thing you're going to slap this baby onto?
Well, it works great in Voltron decks and Infect decks, giving creatures that typically don't have Infect.
Yeah.
And it is...
to be honest, Infect can go, even if you just have the one creature with Infect, you can win the game. Because for those of you that don't know, when a creature has Infect and it hits another creature, it gives that creature -1/-1 counter.
Yes.
But if it's unblocked or somehow you can get over that and hit a player with an Infect creature, that player gets a poison counter. And it only takes 10 poison counters, and whoever has the poison counters, they lose the game.
Right.
So, it's a potentially very deadly card.
Yes.
And Tony's going to walk us through how he's going to best use and make it the most deadly.
All right. So the first card I'd pair Grafted Exoskeleton with is Atraxa Praetor's Voice. Now, she costs 1 green, 1 white, 1 blue, and 1 black. She is a 4/4 legendary angel horror with flying, vigilance, death touch, and lifelink.
Yeah, so we just give her another keyword, infect.
Yeah. And also, at the beginning of your end step, proliferate, which any counter that is in the game, add 1 more of it.
Yep.
Meaning, with your infect, if you
have a creature,
that just deals 1 damage, well, if your Atraxa is out 9 turns later, they're at 10, you win the game.
Yeah, well, poison count.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can proliferate those poisons.
Yes.
It's beautiful, the synergy there. It really is.
And even attaching it onto her, you...
Or just something in a deck with her as the commander is going to be brutal. For sure. You can make that horror a nightmare. What's your next card, Tony? What else are you throwing in with this guy?
Well, next card that I would pair it with, I would put it in the same deck as, is Lightning Greaves. It costs 2 generic mana. It is an artifact equipment, and it says equipped creature has haste and shroud. Shroud meaning nothing can target it, not even your own abilities and spells.
It's still susceptible to board wipes, but
yeah,
nothing else. You can't. It's hard to interact with.
And its equipped cost is 0.
Yeah. So it's just gonna, whatever you put this grafted exoskeleton on, the Lightning Greaves here is gonna help protect it so that the grafted exoskeleton won't come off of it and you won't have to sacrifice it, essentially. That's kind of the gist of that combo. I like it. Yeah. I mean, I don't like it, but
you like it, but you don't.
It scares me. I wouldn't want to sit across from it.
No, well, you have a couple times.
Yeah, and I never liked it.
The next card I selected was Black Blade Reforged. It costs 2 generic mana, and it is a legendary artifact equipment. And it says equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each land you control. Yeah, that can get pretty bad.
It's spicy. And if you slap infect on that.
Yeah, infect.
Which is the idea here. Mm-hmm. Oh man, that's scary.
I put it in here mostly for the damage that it can do. Yeah. But also, legendary creatures only cost 3 generic, whereas regular creatures cost 7 to equip it.
So if you're running Voltron is where you're suiting up your commander to swing for the damage. Mm-hmm. And so this is pumping your commander equal to the number of lands you have, which is already scary. Mm-hmm. And then you're slapping grafted exoskeleton on there to give it infect. So whatever, at least 10 lands, but then you can minus that for whatever your commander starts out as.
Right.
And then you can minus the 2. You can get to a 1 swing kill easy.
Yeah, it is. And another card that I would use for grafted exoskeleton would be Armored Skyhunter. It is 1 white and 3 generic. It is a 3/3 cat knight creature with flying, and its ability is whenever Armored Skyhunter attacks, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may put an aura or equipment card from among them into the battlefield. If an equipment card is put into the battlefield this way, you may attach it to a creature you control. Put the rest of those cards on the bottom of your library in any random order.
Okay, now why are you going to throw this in there, Tony? Why don't you walk us through it?
Well, more for cycling through your deck.
Yeah, filtering out. 6 deep is pretty deep.
Yeah, it's pretty deep.
Yeah.
I mean, there's 99 cards, so
Right.
it's...
But I mean, 6 is a pretty hefty number
Mhm.
for you to be able to take your pick.
Mm-hmm.
You know, right?
And it's not like everything is going into the graveyard afterward. It's
Right.
all
Goes back
going at
in.
the bottom and cycling through.
I can see it.
So eventually you can tailor make your hand into how, like, with
Right.
the equipments, how
Well,
ever you
it's
want.
not even your hand. You get to put it right onto the battlefield.
Oh yeah, right
Yeah.
on the battlefield.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just helping you filter out
Mhm.
and get your best equipments essentially,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever whatever equipment or enchantment you need in that moment. That's actually really good. That's
Yeah,
really,
it'd
really
be
good.
perfect for...
And it's an attack trigger too, so
yes,
that's great.
it's not just an enter the battlefield effect. You just...
You have your greaves out, you get to attack immediately and go get another enchantment or an
Mhm.
artifact. Oh man, that's so useful and so repeatable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But that's all the cards I chose for Grafted Exoskeleton.
Okay.
What about you?
My first one is also Voltron, and personally, I love Voltron. So
The deck style or the show?
yes, the deck style, And so my first card, though, all that aside, my first card is Balan, Wandering Knight. It is white, and 2 generic for a legendary cat knight. That sounds familiar.
Yeah.
And the legendary cat knight, it's 3/3, and it has first strike. Balan Wandering Knight has double strike as long as you have 2 or more equipment are attached to it. And then for a white and 1, attach all equipment you control to Balan. Right? So he wants you to suit him up, and he's going to give you double strike. So he's 3/3 just with the grafted exoskeleton alone. He's 5/5, and then you put that lightning greaves that you were talking about. You slap that on him, so that's the 2. Now he has double strike, and he's hitting for 10 infect. Yeah. Oh man, and he skirts equip cost, which in a Voltron deck is huge. So essentially everything equips to Balan for 2. That's pretty great.
Yeah, that's pretty useful and
Oh yeah. Abusable.
Yeah, very abusable.
But we'll move on to my next card here, which is Pure Still Paladin. It costs a white and a white for a human knight. It's 2/2. And whenever equipment enters the battlefield under your control, you can draw a card. So it's giving you mono white card draw. And in a Voltron deck, you're going to be filling it with equipments and enchantments. But mostly you're going to lean towards the equipment side if you're running this guy. And then he has Metalcraft. So equipment you control have equipped 0 as long as you control 3 or more artifacts. So that's everything becomes a lightning greaves.
Yeah. Which becomes very scary.
It's benefiting you. It's filling your hand for when you play that equipment. It's essentially replacing itself.
Mm-hmm.
So in a weird way, it's card advantage, because the cards just replace themselves as you play them. It's really nice. And then moving on from there, my next pick is Ryath Mastersmith. It costs a red and a white for a 2/2 legendary dwarf artificer. And whenever a creature you control that's enchanted or equipped attacks, that creature gains double strike until end of turn. So, I mean, that's really big. Again, if you can hit twice, you don't have to be as big. It speeds up that turn clock for your opponents. So that's really the idea here, is to take advantage of that. And then my favorite one, Kedis, Emberclaw Familiar. It cost a red and 1 generic for a legendary elemental lizard, and it's a 1/1. And it says, whenever a commander you control deals combat damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage to each other opponent. And it has partner.
Oof.
So if your creature now has the grafted exoskeleton, your commander, and you've got it all suited up, and it swings and it hits just one opponent, all of your opponents get the poison, right? Because that commander's dealing the damage. So that's infect damage.
That. I personally wouldn't put him as a commander, though. I'd put him in the 99.
Same.
Just because I feel like all the partners, or commanders with the partner ability, don't deal that much damage.
Yeah. Oh, well, you're going to suit him up.
No.
So we're still going Voltron. You're going to suit that commander up. But that's why I like it. I mean, even if you find something, I mean, there's a bunch of partner commanders in the new Commander Legends, which is what this comes from. I think you could run it as a partner, so it's safe. And once you get it suited up, your partner commander, then you pull it out onto the battlefield and go in for lethal. But I think also just in the 99 too is safe. But if you get this out and you've got a suited up commander, whether it be Kedis itself as your commander, or just in the 99, it's potentially deadly with grafted exoskeleton. It is pretty scary. Yeah. Especially, your other two opponents are going to be sweating if one person has, like no board and can't block.
Right.
They got to help protect it somehow because otherwise everybody's taking the damage. Oh, it's beautiful. All right. I think we're going to move on. That's it for grafted exoskeleton.
Yep.
Going to move on to my first pick for the show, which is Tainted Sigil. It is a white, a black, and one generic for an artifact. And the artifact reads, tap and sacrifice Tainted Sigil, and you gain a life equal to the total life lost by all players this turn. Oh, I was just thinking about the beauty of that. I'm sorry. So, I got a little combo here, and the first one we're going to talk about, though, and the key piece, I think, the best friend to the Tainted Sigil, and the way that I would use it, is Vizkopa Guildmage. It is a white and a black for a 2/2 human wizard, and it has two abilities. The first one is a generic, a white and a black mana, and target creature gains lifelink until end of turn. And then for one generic, a white and a black, whenever you gain life this turn, each opponent loses that much life. Oof. And so let's run Heartless Hidetsugu. It is 2 red and 3 generic for a legendary Org Shaman. And it's a 4/3, and it says tap, Heartless Hidetsugu deals damage to each player equal to half that player's life total, rounded down. So you've got your Tainted Sigil out, you've got your Vizkopa Guildmage, you pay to activate the Guildmage, you tap your Heartless Hidetsugu. He's going to deal damage to every player, including you, half their life total, rounded down. I don't know what that's going to be. It's going to be a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then you tap your sigil to sack it, and you gain all of that life, pinging all of your opponents at the same time for all the life that they had already just lost. But combined this time. That's game over.
Yeah, game over.
But we're not done yet. We've got another one that I would pair with Tainted Sigil in our Vizkopa little pact is Blood Tribute. It is a black, and 4 for a sorcery. It has Kicker, tap an untapped vampire you control. It says target opponent loses half his or her life, rounded up. And then if Blood Tribute was kicked, you gain life equal to the life lost this way. I mean, that's almost the Tainted Sigil itself if you kick it, and it's So it's just a lot of damage. You just pick the person with the most life. They lose that life. You have this Copa Guild Mage out. Now everybody is losing that life. And then you tap the sigil. It's shenanigans. That's game over again. And then another sorcery we would potentially run with this is Peer into the Abyss. It is 3 black and 4 generic for a sorcery. It says target player draws cards equal to half the number of cards in their library and loses half their life, round up, each time. So, I mean, even if you didn't have the Guild Mage out here to hurt somebody, you could still draw half of your library, tap your sigil, and then not lose any of the life that you just did. So it's going to fill your hand. You're going to get to select half your deck. I mean, let's say you don't have maximum hand size. You're going to pare it down to your 7 best cards in the first top half of your library. That is pretty powerful. And then the downside of losing half your life is gone.
Yeah.
That's pretty great. And then got 2 more to talk about here. The next one is Ad Nauseam. It is 2 black and 3 generic for an instant, and it says reveal the top card of your library and put that card into your hand. You lose life equal to the converted mana cost. You may repeat this process any number of times. Again, fill in your hand, paying that life, but you're not even caring about the life pay because you're just going to tap the sigil and you're going to get it all back. So it fills your hand. I mean, that is card draw, which is one of the most powerful effects in the game.
Right.
And then, not to mention, if you have the Guild Mage out, you're drawing as many cards as you can. Keep in mind, you don't want to go to 0.
Right.
Leave yourself a little room if you're doing something like this, just in case. But you tap the sigil, you gain it back. If you've got the Guild Mage out, you're hitting everybody. You're drawing. There's just no downside there unless somebody stops it somehow.
Right.
And then my last card to go with Tainted Sigil is Soren Markov. He is 3 black and 3 generic for a Planeswalker. He starts out with 4 loyalty. And for a +2, you deal 2 damage to target creature or player, and you gain 2 life. Not bad.
No, not bad at all.
Not bad. The one we really like, though, is his -3. And so it says target opponent's life total becomes 10. Now that's life loss. As long as they're above 10 and they go to 10, that's life loss. Right? So you got the Guild Mage out, got your Tainted Sigil, and you could do this right as he comes out because he has the 4 loyalty. You can spend the 3 to do the job, bring it down to 10, whatever that difference is. You can hit everybody for that. Pretty great.
Yeah.
He does have an ultimate. We'll talk about it because it's technically on the card. He's got a -7 ultimate, and it says you control target player during that player's next turn. But we're never even going to go there. We're just going to ping everybody with that life loss.
Now,
that's how we're using it.
Go on a tangent real quick. Could this ability be used to keep yourself or another player in the game? The -3.
Oh, yeah. For sure. If they're at 2 life, you could do the -3 to bring them up to 10, and then that would count as life gain. Yeah.
And that just came to mind, and I wanted to know.
Try to save yourself.
Well, I mean,
or, a buddy, if you got a partner, you can say, hey, I've got this, doing the political thing, you can say, hey, I've got this Soren, I'll do his -3 right away if you don't swing at me or my Soren.
Right.
I'll bring you back up to 10 to keep you in the game for a little bit. You got to go from there. But, yeah, you could do that.
I might have to get myself that card just for that leverage.
A lot of people don't like it, but you could use it very politically. Yeah. And that's it for me. That's it
for you.
Tainted Sigil. How are you going to use the Tainted Sigil?
Moment. So, I really just will use it more for the give damage out, receive life, or whatever. So, the first card I chose is Sanguine Bond. Whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life.
And how much does Sanguine Bond cost to get out? And what is it?
It cost 2 black and 3 generic, and it is an enchantment.
Yep. And so it functions as the Vizkopa Guild Mage, but it deals damage to target opponent.
Right. But the next card I would choose would be Vito, Thorn of the Dusk Rose. He costs 1 black, 2 generic. He is a 1/3 legendary vampire cleric. And his text states, whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life.
Sanguine Bond on a creature.
Sanguine Bond on
Literally
a creature.
the same text. Yeah.
But if you pay 2 black and 3 generic, creatures you control gain lifelink until end of turn.
Yeah, so he's instigating it. Yeah.
Everything. And
if you have them both out, it doubles. Right? Yeah. Or you could at least target two opponents.
Yeah.
I just saw that, yeah. So if you've got your Sanguine Bond out and your Veto, you can go.
Yeah, got 2 guys across the table from me.
Not bad. Not bad.
But pair it with Tainted Sigil.
Right.
Just end it all.
Potentially
end it
because
all.
especially with that lifelink part. So you're gaining life. You're pinging people with that, right? And then they're hopefully losing life. You get that damage through, and then you tap the sigil. Yep.
And
potentially
with Tainted Sigil, you gain more life.
Right. So you get it. Yeah. It's not an endless combo there.
No.
But it's still just feeding on itself. That's pretty great.
More just like double the life you just gained.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the next card I chose was Ruinous Ultimatum. It is 2 red, 3 white, and 2 black. It is a sorcery, and it states destroy all non-land permanents your opponent controls.
Yeah.
So probably pair it with Veto, turn everything, give everything lifelink.
That's how you get that damage through.
That's yeah. That's. And then the next card I chose is Debt to the Deathless. 2 white, 2 black, X mana. Well, X generic. Those of you who don't know, X, basically, you can pay any amount that you want. And Debt to the Deathless is a sorcery, and it states, each opponent loses 2 times X life where you gain equal to the life that lost this way. Ouch. Yeah. So, you tap yourself. Probably toward the end of the game, you tap yourself out. You play Debt to the Deathless. Then you sacrifice Tainted Sigil.
Yeah.
You're gaining.
And especially if you got the Bond and the Tito out, you're gaining that much life, whatever X is, double whatever X is, and you're hitting for double whatever X is, and then you tap the sigil, and then you gain life equal to all of the people that were hit with double X. Oh, it's beautiful. And brutal.
So brutal. Next card is Fumigate. 2 white, 3 generic, and it says it's a sorcery, and it says destroy all creatures. You gain 1 life for each creature destroyed this way.
Okay.
So that would...
It's clearing the way for Veto again, but also triggering his ability. So that's pretty great.
Well, he's dead. Tainted
You get to
Sigil,
choose
and
how they leave the battlefield, so he could be the last one.
Okay.
Right. So you can still gain that life for each one leading up to Vito, and he's the last one to leave the battlefield. Right. Yeah. So not bad.
And then I have one more card. Caduceus. Or,
Okay.
the Ember Claw Familiar. We already talked about him.
Mm-hmm. How are you going to use him with the Tainted Sigil here? What's the plan? Oh, with the lifelink? Not bad, because then you hit everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I see. It took me a minute. I got yeah. So you have lifelink. You hit the one, but then you equally hit your opponents. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. I like that.
Mm-hmm. But that's all I've got for.
That's all we got for Tainted Sigil. So let's move on to our next card. And Tony, you picked this one, so walk us through it.
Well, I picked this one because I got it for you for Christmas.
Thank you.
No problem. But this card is Grand Arbiter Augustine IV. He costs 1 blue, 1 white, 2 generic. He is a 2/3 legendary human advisor. And he states white spells you control cost 1 less, and blue spells cost 1 less. And spells your opponents cast cost 2 more to cast. Oof. So I took this as kind of a stacking on it.
Yeah.
Basically immobilize. Aggro players are non-existent to this deck.
Any opponent is non-existent to this deck.
But the first card I chose Fate Spinner for my first card. It costs 2 blue and 1 generic, and it's a 1/2 human wizard. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, that player chooses draw step, main phase, or combat phase. The player skips each instance of the chosen step or phase this turn.
Nice. Gives you a choice. Are you gonna not draw?
Are you not gonna?
Are you not gonna cast anything, or are you just not gonna go to combat? Those are all very integral parts of the game, man.
Right.
Missing one is gonna set you back. If you don't take if you skip your card draw, then you're potentially not getting your lands or answers to things. If you skip your main phase, well, then you're not casting anything unless it's an instant. Excuse me. Unless it's an instant. And if you skip combat, you're potentially not doing damage, So, ouch.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that goes with it really well. Because it's 2 more to cast anything. You're playing yours cheaper, and your opponents are skipping a step somewhere. Yeah. Oh man.
The next card I chose, Ghostly Prison.
Yeah.
Costs 1 white, 2 generic. It's an enchantment. Creatures can't attack you unless their controller pays 2 for each creature he or she. Pays 2 for each creature that's attacking you. They have to pay 2 more.
2 more to cast it.
Cast it. 2 more to hit you.
Yeah.
It's
if they cast something on that turn, they pay 2 more for it. And now I'm going to move to my combat phase. Well, I got to pay 2 more to attack you. So this is just really good for deflecting, Mm-hmm. They're going to be going after your opponents because it costs them nothing to go after your opponents.
There's more. And another card I chose is very similar to Ghostly Prison, Propaganda. It's 1 blue, 2 generic. Creatures can't attack you unless their controller pays 2 for each creature that's attacking you.
Yeah.
So
So
now
it's
they're
also
paying-
an enchantment. And if you've got them both,
Yeah.
That's
They're
4. Now you're just really deflecting. Nobody wants to pay 4 mana to attack.
Well, bringing creatures out.
Right.
That's
Again,
down
you-
to
no,
that.
you're still down 2. Now you're down 6 total to bring something out, and then to attack the
Yeah.
opponent, the Augustine player.
Mm-hmm.
Ouch, man. Talking about stopping a game.
Oh wait, there's more.
Oh, please.
Aura of Silence. 2 white, 1 generic, an enchantment. Artifact and enchantment spells your opponent's cast cost 2 more to cast. Sacrifice Aura of Silence, destroy target artifact or enchantment. Thing is, Commander really runs on artifacts
Yeah, a lot of
And
artifacts.
and enchantments. I mean, there are decks that can run neither.
Sure. But your free mana rocks now, your mocks, those
Yeah.
are costing you 2. Those aren't free anymore. Your
Yeah.
Soul Ring is now costing you 3 and taps for 2. Like that, this is a big downside.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Um,
And then just hearing that, so now artifacts and enchantments are going to cost 4 extra.
yeah.
Yeah. If you've got an artifact or an enchantment creature,
Mm-hmm.
that's going to cost 4 extra, and then it's going to cost you 4 more to attack with into the Augustine player. You
Yeah.
got to keep reminded, like
This is basically
everything is just saying slow down, and then when you do get out, go over here.
Yeah, just
But a card that just came to mind when you read that to me, Mycosynth Lattice, and it says everything is an artifact. Instants, sorceries, creatures, enchantments.
Yep.
You name it.
Well, if it's an enchantment and an artifact, does that mean they have to pay 4?
I don't think it overlaps that
Oh.
way. But it still stacks up, right? So I could be wrong about that. Let us know if we're wrong about that. But
Right.
because it says artifacts and enchantment spells cost 2 more. I don't know if that would stack that up, but maybe. Let us know.
Yeah.
Maybe we're wrong. But I'm just saying, if you can make everything an artifact, then everything would cost 4 more for them to cast. Ouch.
Yeah.
Ouch, man.
Next card I chose is Grand Abolisher. It's 2 white for a 2/2 human cleric. And it says, during your turn, opponents can't cast spells or activate abilities of artifacts, creatures, or enchantments. Basically making your turn your own. They cannot do anything.
That's brutal.
It is. This deck basically shuts down the game for them on your end. And it's very not that fun. I personally wouldn't
I
play
would
it,
hate
but I
that.
found these cards and I liked them. So
No, the synergies are definitely there.
yeah.
And you took, you saw Augustine and you said, shut it down.
Yeah. The whole, earlier in the year shenanigans.
Yeah. You wanna play Commander? Nah.
No, man, nah. Or this
This
deck
is
would be
me.
great for that one person that you just want to shut down.
Yeah.
Like, Kyle.
You're always hitting me with that stompy deck or that elf ball. Well, guess what?
Try again.
Your line of war elves? Yeah, that costs 3 now and taps for 1.
But the next card I chose.
There's more.
Yeah, there's more. There's more.
Oh.
There is more.
Okay.
Um,
What is it?
Draenith Magistrate costs 1 white and 1 generic for a human wizard, 1/3, and your opponents can't cast spells from anywhere other than their hands. Meaning, commanders don't exist anymore.
I mean, if you get
Graveyards
them,
are dead now.
If you get Drannith out before they've cast their commander, they're stuck until they take care of Drannith.
Mm-hmm.
It is stuck in the command zone. Ouch.
It's not a fun time.
Or if you can get Drannith out of it, even though they already have their commander out, and you can take care of that, and they choose to put it back in the command zone or anywhere else because it has to go somewhere other than the battlefield.
Right.
Ouch. Ugh.
But they're
So brutal.
Mm-hmm.
You guys can hate him. He really made this deck for you guys.
Thing is, you're the one with the Grand Arbiter Augustine.
I'm not making it this way.
Yeah,
I don't think. I might. Just to play you.
Just to play me.
You got another one here?
Yup. Wildborn
It
Muse.
gets worse. I can't believe this. This is why people hate Grand Arbiter Augustine. I see
Yeah.
it. Ugh.
Yeah, it's Wildborn Muse. 1 white, 3 generic. Creature, spirit, 2/3. Flying. Creatures can't attack you unless their controller pays 2 for each creature they attack you with. So again, just like Propaganda and Ghostly Prison, you're now paying 6 to hit me.
I mean, I'm assuming that people are going to try to take care of these things as fast as they can. But if for some reason there exists a game where everything is on the board that you've said today, they are paying 4 extra to cast things, and now they're going to have to pay 6 mana
to hit me. This deck is made to end aggro.
It does a very good job.
Mm-hmm. And this is coming from a guy who plays aggro. Some days I'm just like, I want to end the game. I'm done.
Yeah. This isn't going to let you end the game.
No, this is... You gotta stay.
All right. And then I think we're going to move on to how I would use Grand Arbiter Augustine IV. And my idea when I saw our Grand Arbiter Augustine is people are going to go stacks with it.
Right.
It wants you to be stacks. He is a stacks piece, so that just makes sense. And then, this deck will have some of those things to slow him down. Mm-hmm. Not to the level that Tony was talking about. We're just going to run maybe, a propaganda.
I went full.
We're probably going to run like a propaganda or something just to kind of pillow fart ourselves while we have fun.
Pillow fort? Pillow fart?
Pillow fort. That's what it is. Pillow forting. Give ourselves a little cushion here. While we run council cards. That's the way that I went, like kind of council tribal. So cards that say Will of the Council or Council's Dilemma. And the first one I've got here is Council's Judgment. It is 2 white and a generic for a sorcery. And it says, Will of the Council. Starting with you, each player votes for a non-land permanent you don't control. Exile each permanent with the most votes or tied for the most votes. So they can't vote for anything on your board. And
as much as they would like to.
Whatever gets voted, bye-bye.
Honestly, that could be a good way. Like, don't make yourself look like a threat now.
Yeah.
But then, like, guy over there with that, like, really dangerous commander or creature.
All of these cards that I'm going to use is going to be very political. This is going to be a political deck, So you're trying to swing the vote in like your favor, essentially. Mm-hmm. And so we're just going to run a bunch of these. And I have also got Plea for Power. It's a blue and 3 for a sorcery that says Will of the Council. And starting with you, each player votes for time or knowledge. If time gets more votes, you take an extra turn after this one. If knowledge gets more votes, or is tied for votes, you draw 3 cards.
So all benefiting you.
Yeah, I'll wrap all this up in a nice little package, I think, here at the end, and we're just going to keep going here. We've got the next one is Split Decision for a blue and one generic. It's an instant, and it also reads Will of the Council. And it says, choose target instant or sorcery spell. Starting with you, each player votes for denial or duplication. If denial gets more votes, counter the spell. If duplication gets more votes, copy the spell, and you may choose new targets for the copy. Oh man, I'm just loving. I'll ramp all this up at the end. Let's just keep going here. We got Expropriate now, and it is blue, and 7 generic. So 2 blue and 7 generic for a sorcery. And this one reads the Council's Dilemma. And it says, starting with you, each player votes for time or money. For each time vote, you take an extra turn. After this one, for each money vote, choose a permanent owned by the voter and gain control of it. And then you exile Expropriate. This card is brutal, man. Unlike the Will of the Council, where it's calculating who gets the most votes, everybody gets a vote on this one, and then each vote counts towards whatever you're going to do. So if you've got 3 opponents, and they all vote for extra turn, and then you vote for extra turn, you get 4 extra turns after that one. Right? That's what this card reads. Or they vote for money, and you get a permanent from them. Yeah, pretty.
But if someone votes time, like let's say you have a table of 4 players, and you get time, money, time.
Yeah, you'll get 2 extra turns and 2 permanents from the people who voted money.
Okay.
But let's make sure we got our finger on the scale a little bit when we're voting on these things. And we've got
You say I'm the evil one?
we've got Ballot Broker. It is a white and 2 generic for a human advisor, and it's a 3/2, and it says while voting, you may vote an additional time.
Money.
And before
Time.
But you're going to vote time every time because you don't get your own thing.
Right.
Right. So, and just before we even go on about that, a card that is functionally the same, Brago's Representative. It is 1 white and 2 generic for another human advisor. This one is a 1/4, and it says while voting, you get an additional vote. So if you have both of these in play, you get 3 votes for any of these council cards. And then we're going to round things out with Azur's Elocutors. It is Hybrid Azorius, and 3 generic for a human advisor. It's 3/5. And it says at the beginning of your upkeep, put a filibuster counter on Azur's Elocutors. Then, if Azur's Elocutors has 5 or more filibuster counters on it, you win the game. And whenever a source deals damage to you, remove a filibuster counter from Azur's Elocutors. So, he's slowing everything down. You're dropping everything at a faster speed. Oh, man. This is so fun. Somebody tries to remove your Azur's Elocutors, well, let's vote on if it goes or not, right?
Mm-hmm.
With that counter card. If somebody tries to counter something, you play that one, and then even if you duplicate the counter, you just target the original counter spell with your copy, so it's getting countered anyways. So many fun things you could do with this. And then with Azur's Elocutors, if we want to speed things up, let's got a couple on there. We're going to run Deep Glow Skate in this deck. And that is a blue and 4 generic for a 3/3 fish. And it says, whenever Deep Glow Skate enters the battlefield, double the number of each kind of counter on any number of target permanents. So if you've got 2 or 3, but yeah, who knows? You know, you get it. You're gonna double your Azur's Elocutors. If you have ways to flicker the deep glow skate, well, there you go. It's gonna be game over. But the whole idea here, and the way that I looked at it, was slow them down. So you're taking away one interaction, but you're just supplementing it with another interaction. So the game isn't stale. Everybody gets a vote.
Yeah.
With your finger on the scale, everybody gets a vote.
I was like, oh, it went in my favor.
I've never seen a deck like this, and it made me really giddy. I was like, oh, that would be so fun. Not just, I mean, I wouldn't even mind playing against this one. It would just be fun to watch, and I don't know.
But should we go on to the next one?
Yeah, I think that's all I have for Grand Arbiter Augustine.
All right.
So the last card we're going to talk about today, well, our last picked card that we're going to talk about today, I picked Magna Brazen Outlaw. It is a red and 1 generic for a 2/1 legendary Dwarf Berserker. And he says, other dwarves you control get +1/+1. And when a dwarf you control becomes tapped, you create a treasure token. Lastly, it says, sacrifice 5 of those treasures, you get to tutor for an artifact or a dragon card. And put it onto the battlefield, and then shuffle your library.
Okay, so what kind of deck would you put?
So is like this kind of dwarf tribal a little bit, you know? I think the deck really wants to get dwarves out and wants to tap those dwarves to get those tokens, you know, because that's adding mana. I mean, there's lots of value there, just in general. So it's like, get our dwarves out, start tapping them. But how are we going to tap them, you say? Well, I'm glad you asked. I've got answers. The first card we're going to talk about is Cryptic Gateway. It is 5 generic for an artifact, and it says, tap 2 untapped creatures you control. And you may put a creature card from your hand into play that shares a creature type with each creature tapped this way. So, we tap a couple of our dwarves, we make some treasure tokens, and we put another dwarf into play. That's just proliferating the number of dwarves that we have, right? It costs 5 to get out, but essentially for free. And then let's talk about Seize the Day. It is a red and 3 generic. It's a sorcery. It says untap target creature. So I should say that we're going to tap them first. Then we're going to get those treasure tokens. Then we're going to play Seize the Day, which is a sorcery, and it says untap target creature. After this main phase, there is an additional combat phase, followed by an additional main phase. And it has flashback for a red and 2 generic.
Nice.
So it's repeatability here. So we tap them, and then we go an additional main phase. And then we go to combat. We're going to tap our dwarves to swing, making more creature tokens. Or more treasure tokens. Yeah. And then we get another main phase where we can flash this back and do it all over again.
Yep.
Oh man, this one would be kind of fun.
Yeah, I'm excited for Magda to come out and for us to try these.
Yeah, and Magda, for those of you that don't know, is from the Kaldheim. It's been officially spoiled from Wizards, and that comes out next year. So still looking forward to
next year. Or,
January.
January.
Yeah,
when?
next year. The 7th or something. I don't know the exact release date, but it's next year.
All right, so save up to spend to waste my paycheck.
So the next one I want to talk about is Honor Worn Shaku. It is 3 generic. It's an artifact, and it says tap to add 1 generic to your mana pool. And it says tap an untapped legendary permanent you control, and you get to untap the Honor Worn Shaku. So You make one. There's shenanigans there. You know, I'm sure. So you tap your.
That's pretty
You
much all
tap
this
your
show is.
Magna.
Shenanigans.
Yeah, you tap your Magna. You untap the Honor Warren Shaka. It's all just mana getting and treasure token getting. And then we also got Umbral Mantle here, which is 3 generic for an artifact equipment. And it says equipped creature has pay 3 generic, untap. This creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. And it has equipped for 0. So if you can find a way to get your 3 mana, you get to untap a dwarf, give it +2/+2, move to combat. It's silly shenanigans.
Yeah.
And then the last card I want to talk about in this deck is Hellkite Tyrant. Now we're gonna tap all of these dwarves. And we're going to get all these treasure tokens. We're going to cheat in other artifacts, maybe, if we really need it.
Yeah.
But try to save these tokens as much as we can and make as many as we can. And then what we do is we get Hellkite Tyrant. It is red, and 4 generic. So 2 red and 4 generic for a 6/5 dragon with flying and trample. It says whenever Hellkite Tyrant deals combat damage to a player, gain control of all artifacts that player controls. And then, at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 20 or more artifacts, you win the game. So, what are we doing here, Nikki? Well, Magna's going to let us sacrifice those 5 treasures at instant speed. So you get all these treasure tokens. You can have 20 or more. Or you can have a really nice treasure trove. Sack 5 of those on your opponent's end step right before it's you. Then you tutor up Hellkite Tyrant, put him right into play. Well, now it's your turn. So they gotta have that instant speed answer sometime between that end step and your upkeep. Are you gonna win? That's what I got for Magna. And there's so much more that could go into it, and it's just a fun shenanigans deck with the tapping and untapping. And you're thinking like, oh, in blue that would be easy, but it becomes a bit more of a challenge in red. So
yeah,
that's kind of makes it fun if you like challenges. But what do you got for Magna, Tony? What direction are you headed?
Okay, my direction is more Voltron-y, but also Dwarven Tribal, because Magna...
Get those dwarves.
Yeah. Magna just get dwarves. Probably a good portion of your deck should be dwarves.
Right, so you can tap them for those treasures.
So the first card I chose was Dwarven Armor. It's 1 red for a 0/2 dwarf, and his ability is 1 red and tap, discard a card from your hand, put either a +0/+1 or a +1/+0 counter on target creature.
Okay. So potentially pump your dwarves.
Mm-hmm. Like make them bigger.
Yep.
But at the cost of
tapping one to make a treasure.
Well,
token.
no, getting rid of discard a card.
Okay.
You got to get rid of one and tap
I
it,
missed
create
that
a token. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of replacing itself if you count the token.
Yeah.
The treasure token.
Mm-hmm.
Not bad.
Yeah. Next card I chose was Dwarven Blood Boiler. 3 red to cast this one for a 2/2 dwarf. An untapped dwarf you control, or tap an untapped dwarf you control. Target creature gets +2/+0 until end of turn.
Okay.
So
Another pump effect.
Yep.
Get it.
A lot of these
Get a
dwarves
token.
have pump effects.
Yes.
And that's the point. That's the point I'm getting at with this deck.
Okay.
Um,
But I see how that fits in. If if Magda's your commander, you're
Yeah.
pumping, you're
Well,
tapping these, and you're
benefiting
making your tokens,
from,
but you're pumping your Magda.
you're benefiting from tapping as well, not just getting
Right.
the treasure tokens, but
Right.
by
That's
boosting
insane.
your.
So you're doubling it up. You're pumping your Magna. You're getting your treasure tokens. Yeah. I mean, along the way, you could be accumulating your 5 and getting artifacts. I see where you're going.
Mhm.
I like it.
Next card, Dwarven Recruiter. It's 1 red, 2 generic for a 2/2 dwarf. When Dwarven Recruiter comes into play, search your library for any number of dwarf cards and reveal those cards. Shuffle your library, then put them on top in any order.
Okay.
So now say you have like 15 card like dwarf
Yeah.
in your deck. You grab all 15. You're putting you show them. You're putting them at the top of your deck.
You gotta be careful though.
Yes, you've got to be careful. But
you could look for a couple of key dwarves
Mhm.
and throw them on top, so you know you're getting them. You want to be really careful, especially if you're gonna sack some treasures.
Mhm.
Then you're gonna have to shuffle that all over again.
Right.
But I see it there. I like it.
Mhm.
Put your most 2 valuable dwarves right at the top of your library.
Right.
Yeah, great.
And then next, we've got Torban, Thane of Redfell,
Okay.
for 3 red and 1 generic. You get a 2/4 legendary dwarf noble. And he states, if a red source you control would deal damage to an opponent or a permanent an opponent controls, it deals that much damage +2 instead.
Pretty much another pump.
Another pump,
effect,
but
yeah.
like Magda is a mono red
But it's
commander,
it's source. So I mean that could be lightning bolt,
any
burn
source.
spells.
Just,
Oh,
it's doubled.
Yeah.
And the next card, I also didn't want to just name off dwarves.
Right.
The next
So
card,
you got some artifacts that
Yep.
we're gonna be tutoring up. Maybe.
two artifacts. We've got Lightning Greaves, again, as stated before.
Right.
Like-
Oh, that's good because then you get
Yeah.
like those pump dwarves. You're gonna tap them to pump things faster.
Well, it's the haste and
Yeah.
the.
Yep.
Okay. Sorry, my brain kind of took off. Next card I would choose is the first card we talked about, so it kind of circling all back
There
around.
you go. I see.
Is Grafted Exoskeleton.
Yeah.
I think with how all the other dwarves pump damage, and Torban adds more damage.
Yeah.
Grafted Exoskeleton, it becomes very valuable.
I think something that I'd like to see in the deck that you described would be Fiery Emancipation. It's the one that does triple damage.
Oh.
So you got Torbrand doing double. It would be math, right?
Yeah.
But I could see this. You could say, I don't know if, I think it's an enchantment. I'm pretty sure. But you could still get that out. You could pay for it with your treasures. Put that out. And then you got the infect too, right? So from your Grafted Exoskeleton, now on your Magda. Dealing 3 times the amount of damage. Ouch.
It's definitely going to be an early deck once this card comes out, because I do intend on building a deck like this.
Yes, I'm just, in general, really excited for Call Time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so everything I've seen
both
from
love
it
Vikings.
seems really, really exciting. And there's more spoils to come, so I look forward to talking about this set more in the future.
I look forward to building these decks and doing the deck techs like we originally talked about.
Yep. And so, for those of you who haven't watched the intro video, down the road we plan to do deck techs where Tony and I will work on decks together and build them. physically build them, and then we'll do a deck tech video. And one of our viewers or listeners, however we figure it out, somebody's
see our faces or hear our voices. There is a chance you will get one of the decks we built.
Yes. So we will have a drawing for a subscriber or a listener. Maybe somebody on Instagram or Twitter, somewhere, somehow, somebody is going to get the deck from that deck tech that we have a physical copy of.
Yeah.
So that's down the road, but also excited about that.
But I think...
just real quick, we said in the beginning, and we're going to follow up now. You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at themanasinkpod. You can support us directly at patreon.com/themanasink. I've got nothing else. We'll wrap up our first episode.
I think we're going to untap and pass turn to you guys.
Yeah. Leave your comments down below. Look forward to hearing from those. What can we improve on? What did you guys like? What synergies or things did you guys see? How would you use the cards that we talked about?
Yell at us for missing something because,
yeah. We look forward.
Call us dumb. Go for it.
We look forward to seeing you guys again. We hope you like it, and we also are striving to get better. So any feedback would be helpful, guys. Thank you so much.
Catch you later. Take care.